My wife's lawyer walked into my office at 11:43 in the morning, carrying divorce papers like he was delivering a funeral notice. My employees watched him hand me the envelope. He actually smiled while doing it. Then I opened my desk drawer, pulled out another envelope, and said, "Make sure my wife reads every page before she lies to the judge again." That smile disappeared immediately. Full story. My name is Andrew Mercer, and the strange thing about betrayal is that the person destroying your life usually believes they are the victim. My wife's name was Vanessa. We were married for 16 years. One daughter, one house, one business, and apparently, two completely different versions of our marriage. If you asked Vanessa, she would tell you she built everything, that she carried us, that I was emotionally distant, obsessed with work, controlling. She became very good at that story near the end. The problem was, I knew where the bodies were buried, not literal bodies, financial ones, legal ones, emotional ones, and Vanessa forgot something dangerous. I was the one who cleaned up every mess she ever made, which meant I knew exactly how many there were. I met Vanessa when I was 29. She was magnetic, not beautiful in a soft way, beautiful in the dangerous way. The kind of woman who entered a room already expecting attention, and usually got it. When we met, I owned a small logistics company. Nothing glamorous. 3 trucks, 1 warehouse, too many loans, not enough sleep. Vanessa used to sit with me in the office at night eating takeout while I handled invoices. Back then, she looked at me like I was becoming something. And honestly, that belief helped me survive those years. People underestimate what loyalty can build inside a tired man. The company grew slowly, then quickly. By year 10, we had contracts across 3 states. By year 12, Vanessa stopped calling it our business. It became Andrew's obsession. That should have warned me, because the moment someone starts resenting the thing that feeds their lifestyle, they usually already have 1 foot emotionally outside the marriage. At first, the changes were small. Less affection, less patience, more criticism. Then came humiliation disguised as jokes. Vanessa would say things at dinner parties like, "Andrew would marry his warehouse if it could cook." People laughed. I laughed too. That was my mistake. Because the first time you laugh at your own disrespect, you teach people it is safe to continue. Then came Derek Holloway, 43, divorce attorney, expensive watches, artificial confidence, the kind of man who stood too close to married women while pretending it was charm. Vanessa met him through charity events. At first, she talked about him constantly. Derek says most successful men are emotionally unavailable. Derek thinks workaholic husbands create lonely wives. Derek says women settle too much. Looking back now, it almost sounds rehearsed. One night I came home early from a conference. Vanessa was in the kitchen texting someone, smiling. The second she saw me, the smile disappeared. That moment stayed with me, because happy people do not panic when their spouse enters the room. I asked, "Who's got you smiling like that?" She locked the phone immediately. Nobody. Too fast. Then came the girls' trips, the locked bathroom door, the perfume before book club, and worst of all, the emotional coldness. That part hurts more than yelling. When someone slowly starts treating you like an inconvenience inside your own life. One night I asked her directly, "Are you seeing someone else?" Vanessa actually laughed. Not nervous laughter. Insulted laughter. "Andrew, you really think I'd cheat on you?" That sentence bothered me later, because she never answered the question. She only attacked the idea that I would ask it. That is when I started paying attention carefully. Not emotionally. Quietly. There's a dangerous phase in every betrayal where love stops protecting the lie, and observation begins. I noticed Vanessa suddenly cared about our financial structure. Very suddenly. Questions about ownership percentages, trusts, insurance, business valuation. She even asked one night during dinner, if something happened between us, what would happen to the company? I looked at her. She smiled while drinking wine. Too casually. I answered carefully, "Why are you asking?" She shrugged. "Curiosity." No, it wasn't curiosity. It was preparation. That realization sat in my stomach for weeks. Then came the first real humiliation. It happened at my company Christmas party. 200 employees. Music, drinks, laughter. I was speaking with warehouse supervisors when Vanessa interrupted loudly. "You know Andrew still checks emails during sex." The whole group laughed. I laughed too. Again, that was my second mistake. Because I saw Derek across the room watching her. Smiling. Not surprised. Comfortable. Like he already knew how she spoke about me privately. That was the moment my instincts stopped whispering and started screaming. A week later, I hired a private investigator. I hated myself for doing it. Honestly. Because once you investigate your spouse, part of the marriage dies immediately. The investigator's name was Carla Ruiz. Former fraud investigator. Cold eyes. No nonsense. She asked me one question during our first meeting. "Do you want reassurance?" I said, "No." She nodded slowly. "Good. Because people usually hire me after the reassurance phase is already dead." 3 weeks later, Carla called me. Her voice sounded careful. "Mr. Mercer, I think you should see this in person." I drove to her office in silence. Rain hitting the windshield. Hands gripping the wheel too hard. Carla handed me a folder. Inside were photographs. Vanessa. Derek. Restaurants. Hotels. Weekend she called spa retreats. Then Carla handed me something worse. Phone records. Long nightly calls. Messages. And finally, bank transfers. That part confused me. Until Carla explained. Vanessa had quietly moved marital funds into a separate account under consultation expenses. Derek's law firm. That was when the betrayal changed shape. This wasn't just an affair. It was planning. Legal planning. My wife wasn't just cheating. She was preparing a war. And Derek wasn't just sleeping with her. He was coaching her. I remember staring at one printed message for almost a full minute. Vanessa had texted him. "He still thinks I'm unhappy. He has no idea what's coming." That sentence changed something inside me permanently. Because sadness still leaves room for reconciliation. Humiliation does not. I asked Carla quietly, "How long?" She looked down at the file. "Approximately 11 months. 11 months. 11 months of sleeping beside me, eating dinner with me, watching movies with our daughter, while secretly building a strategy against me with another man." That level of betrayal does not feel sharp. It feels heavy, like someone lowering concrete onto your chest slowly. Then came the second shock. Carla discovered Derek had advised Vanessa to provoke emotional reactions from me. Why? Because angry husbands perform badly in court. There were messages, specific ones. Push him emotionally. Get him reactive. If he explodes publicly, custody leverage improves. That was when I stopped viewing Vanessa emotionally and started viewing her carefully. Because suddenly every argument looked different. Every accusation, every fake tear, every cruel comment designed to bait me into becoming the villain she needed. So I became calm instead. And calm terrified her. One night she screamed at me for 20 straight minutes because I forgot to pick up dry cleaning. I just listened quietly. At the end she shouted, "Why aren't you reacting?" That question almost made me smile, because she accidentally revealed the performance. The next month became psychological warfare. Vanessa escalated constantly, criticizing me publicly, accusing me privately, picking fights near our daughter Olivia, trying to provoke emotional scenes. But I stayed calm, and the calmer I became, the more unstable Vanessa looked. Then came the morning everything exploded. 11:43 a.m. Tuesday. I was reviewing shipping reports in my office when my receptionist called. "Andrew, there's an attorney here asking for you." The room immediately felt strange, because attorneys do not visit logistics companies casually. Then Derek walked into my office himself. Perfect suit, smug expression, holding a large envelope. 2 employees watched from nearby desks. Derek smiled while placing the papers down. "You've been served. Divorce. Asset freeze request. Temporary custody motion. Financial misconduct accusations. Emotional intimidation allegations. And worst of all, a request to remove me from operational control of my own company during proceedings." I actually laughed once reading that, because Vanessa truly believed Derek was smarter than me. Derek leaned back confidently. I'd advise cooperation, Andrew. That was when I opened my desk drawer slowly, pulled out a sealed envelope, and handed it to him. Make sure Vanessa reads every page before she lies to the judge again. His confidence slipped immediately. Tiny movement, but I saw it. He opened the envelope carefully. Inside were copies, phone records, hotel receipts, financial transfers, private investigator reports, and one very specific item. Proof Derek violated ethical conduct rules by engaging romantically with a client during active legal strategy consultations. The color drained from his face. I leaned back calmly. You should probably call your malpractice insurer before court. That silence was beautiful, not dramatic, heavy. Derek stood slowly, for the first time since entering my office. He looked nervous. Then I said the sentence that truly broke him. Oh, and page 14 explains why the company ownership isn't marital property. His eyes moved instantly. Good, because that was the hidden advantage Vanessa never knew existed. Years earlier, before the company exploded financially, my father convinced me to restructure ownership under a protected family holding trust. Vanessa signed the paperwork herself, without reading most of it, because back then she trusted me completely. Funny how betrayal punishes lazy arrogance eventually. The trust legally protected controlling ownership, meaning Vanessa couldn't seize operational authority, couldn't freeze company control, couldn't force liquidation. Derek whispered, "You planned this." I looked at him carefully. No. Then I smiled slightly. But I prepared for people exactly like you. He left my office without another word. My employees pretended not to stare. But everyone knew something devastating had just happened. That evening Vanessa came home furious. Not emotional. Terrified. She threw her purse onto the counter. You hired a private investigator. I looked up from the kitchen table. You hired a boyfriend. That silence hit her harder than shouting. Then she snapped. You went through my private life. I almost laughed, because cheaters always discover privacy the moment consequences arrive. Vanessa started pacing. You're trying to destroy me. No, I said calmly. You and Derek handled most of that yourselves. Then came the line that ended our marriage emotionally forever. Vanessa looked directly at me and said, if you had paid attention to me, none of this would have happened. That sentence removed every remaining ounce of guilt I carried, because betrayal always reveals character eventually, and blame shifting is usually the final mask. I stood slowly, walked upstairs, packed a bag, then stopped at Olivia's bedroom door. My daughter was 14. Smart, quiet, too observant. She looked at me carefully and whispered, Are you leaving? I sat beside her. No. Then she asked the question that broke me. Was Mom cheating? Children always know more than adults think. I answered honestly. Yes. Olivia nodded slowly, then whispered something devastating. I heard her talking about it months ago. Months. My chest tightened. Why didn't you tell me? Her eyes filled instantly. Because Mom said you'd leave us if I did. That was the moment I realized Vanessa hadn't just betrayed me. She weaponized our daughter emotionally too. And suddenly, this stopped being about heartbreak. Now it was about protection. Court preparations became brutal after that. Derek officially withdrew from representation 2 weeks later. Ethics investigation, potential sanctions, conflict exposure. Vanessa lost her legal strategy immediately. And worse, she lost control of the narrative. Because once infidelity, financial manipulation, and coached provocation entered evidence, her victim image collapsed fast. But Vanessa still fought viciously. False emotional abuse claims. Claims I intimidated her financially. Claims I neglected the marriage. Then came the hearing that changed everything. Vanessa took the stand first, crying beautifully, controlled breathing, perfect pauses. Honestly, it was impressive, until my attorney began asking questions. Her name was Elaine Foster. Small woman, terrifying mind. Elaine introduced the financial transfers first, then the hotel receipts, then Derek's messages coaching Vanessa emotionally. The courtroom shifted instantly, but the real destruction came later. Elaine asked calmly, Mrs. Mercer, Did you ever instruct your daughter to hide your relationship from Mr. Mercer? Vanessa froze. Tiny pause. But enough. Then Olivia testified, and my entire soul broke listening to it. My daughter sat in that courtroom trembling while explaining how her mother cried in front of her repeatedly saying, "If your father finds out, he'll destroy this family." Olivia cried while saying, "I thought keeping the secret was protecting everybody." Even the judge looked disturbed. Vanessa started crying harder after that, but those tears no longer worked, because real pain had finally entered the room. Not performance. Truth. The custody evaluator later described Vanessa's behavior as emotionally manipulative and psychologically inappropriate. That sentence destroyed her custody strategy completely. Then came the final twist. Remember the envelope? There was one document Vanessa never expected me to have. A recorded consultation Derek accidentally left accessible through SyncCloud backups during meetings with Vanessa. Audio. Clear audio. In it, Derek literally coached Vanessa on how to provoke emotional reactions from me for legal leverage. When Elaine introduced that recording in court, Vanessa physically went pale. The judge actually removed his glasses halfway through listening, and for the first time during the entire process, Vanessa looked afraid instead of angry. The divorce finalized 8 months later. I kept company control. Primary custody became shared but heavily structured. Vanessa received far less financially than she expected, and Derek, his law firm, quietly forced his resignation after disciplinary review began. Last I heard, he moved states. Funny, the man who entered my office, smiling with divorce papers, ended up rebuilding his entire career from scratch. As for Vanessa, the strangest part is this. I stopped hating her long before court ended, because eventually hatred requires emotional attachment. And by then, I saw her clearly. A woman so terrified of losing comfort that she destroyed the people who actually loved her. A year later, Olivia asked me something during dinner. "Dad, when did you stop loving Mom?" I thought about that carefully, then answered honestly. The moment she started treating trust like stupidity. Olivia nodded slowly, then whispered, "I think Mom thought you were weak." I looked out the window for a long moment, then smiled sadly. "No, sweetheart. She thought I'd never stop protecting her from consequences." People think revenge is screaming, explosions, humiliation, but the most devastating revenge I ever witnessed was a calm man quietly handing over an envelope full of truth. Because lies survive emotional chaos, but they rarely survive documentation. My wife's lawyer came to destroy my life with divorce papers, but he forgot I already knew exactly what my wife had been hiding from the court.